guys. Sorry about that. Got cut off again. But when we left off, we were talking about instructional or structural unemployment. So the difference here being, again, with structural unemployment, these are where jobs are out there, they exist, you just don't have the necessary skill sets for them. And so if you have a growing field, if you have an area where you have a lot of jobs available and you don't have a degree or you don't have the ability to obtain one of those jobs, then you would be structurally unemployed. And I was using the example of, if the nursing field and technology field were growing and I graduate with a history degree and I'm wanting to go into teaching, there's no teaching jobs available. There are jobs out there, however, all right, it's just that I'm not qualified to do them. That's structural unemployment. We see a lot of that happening. Especially a lot in the news lately with people that graduate with these there's a wide range of degrees, but they graduate with very, very specific degrees that are geared towards basically one specific job, and if that job's not available, then they don't have a job, or they're not qualified to really do anything about a long-term career. And so they would be structurally unemployed if they were unable to find a job in that particular area. And then last but not least, this is probably the most common, is cyclical or cyclical unemployment. With cyclical unemployment, this follows the business cycles. And so when there's a downturn in the business cycle, when the economy is contracting, all right, we see this type of unemployment taking place. This is where you see layoffs, all right, and things like that. People lose their job through no fault of their own. It's just a downturn in the economic cycle or in the business cycle itself. I talked a little bit in the last example, in the last video, about the recession. All right, it started in 2007, 2008. And going into that time, what we saw happen with the economy, a severe drop-off, housing market collapse that led to bad economic climate throughout the nation. But across the board, all right, we saw businesses that were no longer able to keep the same number of workers that they once had. They had to lay people off. Around here, locally, people that worked at SRS, Vogel, Kimberly-Clark, all right, Procter and Gamble, a lot of those major plants, they experienced layoffs. They had to basically lay hundreds of people off of work. And so around here, we actually saw that taking place. But whenever there is a economic downturn, a bad economic cycle, all right, we see people laid off. They're unemployed because of the business cycle. So this is cyclical unemployment here. And so these are the four types of unemployment. All right, make sure to take notes on these. All right, make sure that you know which one is which and be able to give an example of those. All right, if you haven't already, all right, go back in, look over the PowerPoints on government spending. All right, that's going to walk you through taxes, how the government's going to take your tax money, and how they're supposed to use it. And then also how they decide on using that factors into something called fiscal policy. The government's policy on how they're going to spend money, spend taxpayer money. And so that is kind of branching, it's kind of bridging the gap in between what we're talking about here with how the economy is impacting people, how taxes are impacting people, and how that kind of goes towards hopefully alleviating a lot of these problems, whether they're inflation or unemployment, expansion or contraction of the business cycle. So that's how we're kind of bridging the gap between all of these different topics. I know there's a lot on Google Classroom, but if you haven't already, go back in, look over government expenditures, the taxing section, look over the PowerPoint on fiscal policy, and go ahead and look over the PowerPoint on monetary policy. I got to offload some of these videos, and so that's going to take a while, but by tonight I'm going to upload videos on fiscal and monetary policy and taxes. Okay, I hope this helps. All right, feel free again to let me know if y'all have any questions.